Let's talk about the new film Saltburn, which is the latest film from Emerald Fennell, coming off of the directorial debut, which was Promising Young Woman. Now, I've heard a lot of things about Promising Young Woman. A lot of people don't like it. They hate it. Some people love it. I find myself in the middle. I thought it was a pretty good movie, but I definitely see both sides. But let's get into Saltburn, which I did enjoy more than Promising Young Woman, but now I'm starting to see the same thing. I see a lot of people hating Saltburn, a lot of people loving it, some people in the middle. I actually like this movie. I did a whole review on it. You can go check that out if you want on the channel. But let's get right into this movie, what it's about, and the ending, and how all of that came to be, because it is a wild ride. So make sure you are seated and let's get into it. So this movie basically is a film about what happens when one's obsession goes beyond than what we could ever imagine. And that is the case here with Oliver, who is played by Barry Keoghan, who becomes obsessed with Felix, who is played by Jacob Elordi, so much that he even goes and lives with him and his family over the summer at Saltburn, in a state that is just grand. And that is more than Oliver could have ever imagined in his life, according to him. Over time, we see as he becomes more and more attached to the family, and the family themselves become attached to Oliver as well. For everybody from the sister to the cousin. Well, the cousin not so much. The cousin has a little bit of a feeling that this might not be up to any good, but the parents and all that are very much so like Oliver's part of the family now. Over time, we see as this becomes even more and more just insanity for Oliver, as he even has a point where he sees that Felix has finished with his bath and goes to drink some of the bath water. So bath water is indeed in this movie something I thought we wouldn't see very much so in a movie today. But we see that. We see the bath water. We see that Oliver is sort of trying to get everybody under his thumb, from having these moments with the cousin to the sister, and a little bit of an illusion. And so this whole thing that Oliver is just plotting as we see him try to put his claws into this family. Over time, we notice that Felix is like, you know what, let me do something nice for Oliver. So Oliver at the beginning has said that him and his family hadn't had that much of a good relationship. We learned that Oliver's father had passed away at the beginning of the movie, and Felix is like, I need to get you and your mom back together. That's going to be the best thing we can do for your birthday and all of that. Oliver is hesitant. He doesn't want to do this at all. But Felix is like, no, we're going to do this. This is happening right now. You and your mom are going to get y'all's relationship straight. Your dad passed away. Let's make this a good birthday and have a family reunion. When ultimately they end up at Oliver's house, Felix finds out that Oliver's not living as poor as he was saying, and he actually has a pretty nice family with the dad alive and well. So Oliver had been lying about that as well. Ultimately, we find out that Oliver says he lied because he wanted to get Felix to feel bad for him, start to accept him a little bit more. He felt neglected, all of that. Felix starts to feel a way about Oliver and says, after we throw your birthday party, you need to leave Saltburn. That's it. I don't want anything to do with you. You're weird. That's just insane to lie about your father dying because you wanted my approval. They ultimately throw this big bash for Oliver. Everybody comes out, and Oliver's still pleading Felix to forgive him. He's trying his best to. He says he's going to try his best to be a better person, but he just wants Felix's approval. Felix is like, I'm done with you. We're completely over this. Just leave. And then that night we see that Felix ultimately dies. Everybody's in shock about what happened. They bury Felix. Oliver has a little bit of a thing going on at the funeral and at the burial site, which is just insanity. Let's just say Oliver gets naked by himself at the gravesite and does some things to the gravesite, which I was just like, what is going on? Everybody in the theater was just like, what is this? But Oliver ultimately does that. Then he kind of passes on the blame that maybe it was the cousin who had drugs and all of that, which the family just gets pissed about, and they expel the cousin out of Saltburn, and now the cousin don't got anything to do with Saltburn. Then we see that the sister starts to sort of feel some type of way about Oliver as well, and she's kind of not trusting what he's doing. She feels that he is really trying to do something with her family, and then the sister ultimately dies the next day, which everybody thinks was done by herself, but we'll find out what exactly happened as well. We then see that the father's just like, you know what, Oliver, you need to leave Saltburn. This is not good for my wife, who has become so fixated and obsessed with you now after tragedy, so you need to leave. Oliver doesn't want to leave. The father ultimately says, I'll pay you, just get out of here. And he pays Oliver. Then years later on, we see that the father dies and Oliver runs into the wife again, and they sort of start to have a relationship. And then we see that she ultimately succumbs to illness, and then she dies after Oliver takes away her life support, and we find out from Oliver himself that he actually was the one who killed Felix as well as the sister Venetia, and has been plotting all of this ever since Felix sort of ignored him or whatever. And now he is in the midst of getting all of Saltburn, all of the estate, all of the money from this family, because he had gotten into this relationship with the mother, and this was his plan all along. And he's gonna dance naked in the whole estate and just live it up now. Oliver had been plotting all of this from the beginning. He was always going to do this. It was just a matter of time of how he was going to do it, and he ultimately came out as the victor over the family, taking everything they have and just taking everything, even their own lives. He takes their lives, and that's where the movie ends. And I thought it was such an insane story to follow. I do see some of the criticism that people are saying about the film trying to be too outrageous and everything. And you know what? I don't know. I think that I just don't see how something's trying to be outrageous when the story is just outrageous. But I can see that sort of criticism being valid as well. But in my opinion, it was still a film that I thought was just insane. And I don't think it was trying too hard to be insane, in my opinion. I just felt like this was Oliver's descent into wanting to have all of this. And I think that he just went mad over Felix at some point, but then went even more madder thinking about wanting all of this, which was Saltburn. So it was sort of like his infatuation and his obsession just grew to an insane level that he was just gonna do whatever it took. And his psyche was just broken enough for him to do all of these things. So I just don't see how it's too outrageous. But I definitely do see that Oliver could definitely become a very iconic figure in film. And this film is without a doubt a cult film for sure, that I think people 10, 20, 30 years from now will be going back to check out, just as we see with some films that are outrageous for their time as well, like Heathers and so on and so forth. So very excited to see how this film does. It opens this weekend. Let me know if you're going to be watching it or not. Let me know what you think about it. I have a review, so if you watch this and you want more of my thoughts on the film itself and everything about it, go check out that review. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're running giveaways on Instagram, so make sure you go over there first. All provided over here. But as always, I'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.